Oh, okay, you got it recorded. Thank you. Okay. Right. Well, welcome everyone to the Black Sustainability 6th Annual Black Sustainability Summit 2021. It's great to have you all here, and we are so excited. This is, been a long journey, but we're here and we're moving forward. But before we go any further, I need to give out a little disclaimer. We trust and verify that all our presenters are doing solid work. Their affiliation is due to our alignment with their goals and their mission. The presentations provided at our summit does not constitute an endorsement of speakers' views, products, or services. Okay, so today, our topic is Why Community Resilience by Brother David Muhammad. Before we get into his bio, let's talk about our Black-owned operated sponsors. We have Sustainability Community Solutions Network. We want to give thanks to Black-owned operated sponsor, Collard Green Cultural Festival. And we're going to go to the sponsor of ADIKI, Aya International Development and Indigenous Knowledge Institute. And let me see, go further down. Then we have Black Handcraft. We want to the Echo Womanist Institute. And of course, we want to give thanks to our Black Sustainability Committee of Volunteers. As you see, there's a number of volunteers there. So I'm going to stop my share briefly so I can pull up the bio. Okay, can you see my screen? Brother David is the co-founder of I Am Green, a social enterprise that uses education and engagement to reconnect our people to the planet and each other. He is also the executive chief of I Am Green Pop-Up Cafe. He is a subject matter expert in environment literacy, loss prevention, security and emergency preparedness, nonviolent physical crisis intervention, community emergency response team, instructor, YMD threat and risk assessor, EPA emergency preparedness and prevention with emphasis in hazmat spills. I guess that's hazardous spills. Crisis prevention and intervention certified. Brother David is an environmental literacy, energy auditing, and weatherization instructor. He lends his genius as lead trainer and environmental specialist for the SDUSC Climate Ambassadors for Environmental Justice Certification Program. From our early years working to provide food security to families who wanted healthy, fresh produce in South Central Los Angeles to Baltimore, Maryland, with the development of Operation ROCIT, which is to reclaiming our community one individual at a time in the early 2000s. Brother David and Sister Maria has been working to reconnect the Black community to nature and sustainable practices for more than 20 years. They have found great success in their efforts through green entrepreneurship, green collar workshop development, and providing life skills to community youth and young adults. In 2005, they started Baltimore Citizens to Positive Change, a green job workforce development program created to address their beloved Charm City's high crime and murder rate. The couple relocated to sunny San Diego in 2013 and brought their green job workforce development model with them to a long-standing community organization. I Am My Brother's Keeper. Through this program, they introduced community members in the Southeast San Diego community to careers in the green collar workforce and the green social enterprises. In 2019, I Am Green, the brainchild of Sister Maria, began gestating. She realized our community need more than just career pathways and green social enterprises. We need to remember our rightful place in sustainability landscape, as our voices have been silenced and the values of our ancestors forgotten and are appropriated, mislabeled, and repackaged in a way we no longer recognize. After enrolling in GEWELS program of Paving Great Futures by 2020, I Am Green was formed into a 50c3. In partnership with a myriad of community-based organizations, I Am Green has never missed a beat in educating and empowering our community through workshops, training, curriculum, and resources with a much more holistic approach, staying true to our mission of connecting our community to the planet and each other. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So I'm going to go back here and let you get started, Brother David, if you want to share your screen.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right, here we go.
Okay, so why community resilience? That's a good question, because when we look at our communities, we see that we are not only the, well, first of all, let me say thank you for joining us at the 6th annual Black Sustainability Summit. And we are going to go to the next slide. Hold up. So today's workshop is going to be very interactive. We are it's going to be a transfer of knowledge. So it's not just going to be me just talking. I want to hear from the audience. We need to hear back from you. It's going to be, you know, we want to definitely work together to transfer knowledge. I'm gonna learn from you, and hopefully you can learn something from me. The whole point of resilience is to be prepared. So we are here to connect the dots, right? The biggest obstacles to resiliency is when we are not prepared and we're not connected, right? So hopefully after this presentation today, we will be prepared and connected, right? And that will help us to not just be prepared and connected here, but it's going to go locally, nationally, and internationally. Next slide. Okay, so in 30 seconds, right? In 30 seconds or less, if you can just put in a chat or open your mic up and let me know what is community resilience to you? What does that mean?
You want everybody to open up their mics?
They can, yes, ma'am. Or they can type it in chat.
Okay, no one has put anything in the chat.
Okay, well, let's go to the next slide.
Are you gonna answer it? Oh, we got one from Maymoon.
Okay, so sustainable way, okay, sustainable way of living. Let's read the whole thing. Okay.
Sustainable way of living.
Participant has a generational. Okay, absolutely. Absolutely, yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for having us think about that.
Yeah, I think it's holding on to our culture, holding on to our history, to sustain ourselves.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. Okay.
It's an opportunity to be immortal.
All right.
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am. Okay. So what is community, right? So some say that a community is a group of people living in the same place or having a particular characteristic in common, the science community, right? Some say a social unit with communities such as norms, religion, values, customs, or identity, right? And then some say it's a group of living things sharing the same environment, right? So the question of our workshop today is why is community resilience, right? But we look at community, it also allows us to support one another, interact, share our experiences with each other, share our struggles with each other. You know, and communities normally are rich in resources, right? Next slide. What is resilience? This is a good one right here. What is resilience? Some say resilience.
Is that a question to everybody?
Yes. You all can answer the question too also, please.
Never giving up. You fall down, you get back up.
Absolutely. So there's a few definitions. One definition says the capacity of a system to experience shock while retaining essentially the same function, structure, feedback, and therefore its identity, right? Or the ability to prepare for, withstand, and recover from a crisis or disruption, right? So in reality, both of these are what we will consider to be resilience, right? So both of these represent resiliency. It's not an either or, both of them are correct. But of course, as African-centered people, you know, there's more to it, resiliency for us than it is for some other people, some of our cultures. Next slide. Can you all see this screen? Can you all see this? This improving the baseline. This is something that we use a lot because when we look at this particular graph, right, or this pathway out of poverty, it starts with crisis, at risk, safe, stable, and thriving, right? In each one of these categories, we fit in there somehow. Those of us who are on the line, those of us who we know, we fit into one of these categories, right? So our job at I Am Green has been to really move our community members over to stable or thriving. So that has been our whole purpose, right? And improving the baseline is so vitally important to resiliency. The economics of resiliency requires an entirely separate workshop, right? All the core components could, but what I would say in the interest of time today, pooling our resources is the number one tool we can use to gather economic resiliency, right? And to foster a healthy community, right? We had to be able to get past perpetual crisis in order to gain stability, right? So crisis and instability seems to be a norm in a lot of our communities. Next slide. So we look at our basic needs of a community, of our community, your community, wherever you live in that, wherever you gather, right? Whatever society you belong to, right? The basic needs of a community: food and water, shelter, clothing, sanitation, education, healthcare, sex, and security, right? We are centering the resiliency around humans and ecosystems, focusing on resilience in three daily needs. And that will be number one, number one, our daily needs is number one. Number two, needs in a crisis. And number three, needs during a crisis and recovery, right? And improving the baseline. We talked earlier about, you know, bouncing back is what normally people will consider to be something that's resilient, or when you talk about resiliency, everybody talking about bouncing back, right? So the question becomes, as we look further, right, we got to ask ourselves three questions. What corrective actions need to be taken? Number one. Who are the responsible stakeholders? Number two. And what's the process, and when will action begin and when will it end, right? So we want to look at resiliency in these areas, right? We hear a lot about bouncing back, right? But what about when the system is broken, right? What about when the normal is crisis, right? Do we want to bounce back to that? Next slide. We're talking about a resilient community, right? So when we add these two words, a resilient community, we're going to see in communities that are resilient, you're going to see, number one, they're knowledgeable and healthy, right? Meaning that they have the ability to assess, manage, and monitor its risk. It can learn new skills and build on past experiences. Two, it's organized, has the capacity to identify problems, establish priorities, and then act on those priorities. Number three, it's connected. It's connected with relationships externally as well as internally within the group. So we're talking about family and friends, we're talking about faith groups, we're talking about government entities. So who in all those relationships provide a supportive environment, and they supply goods and services where we need them, right? Number four, it also has infrastructure and services. It has strong housing, transportation, power, water, sanitation, right? It has the ability to maintain, repair, and renovate, right? So this is where, we gotta know who our auto mechanics are in our community. We gotta know who our carpenters are in our community. We gotta know who our bricklayers are in our communities, right? And this is something that they're moving us further and further away from skilled labor, right? To believe that everything is going to be about computers, right? And everything is going to be about IT, right? But in reality, when you're talking about community, inside the community in which you live at right now, right? If your car broke down right now in your community, right? You want to find a mechanic. You want to try to find somebody that's in the community you can take it to and get it fixed before you take it all the way up to the dealership, right? So this is where these infrastructure services come in, right? And number five has economic opportunities, right? It has a diverse range of employment opportunities, income, financial services, right? So if you have to drive 20, 30 minutes outside of your community to go to work, then you really don't have economic opportunities inside of your communities, right? And that's a lot. I know personally, here in San Diego, every morning I can see thousands of cars going north outside of Southeast San Diego. They're going up above the 8 freeway, and that's where all the jobs are at, right? So with the community I live at, it's not a lot of jobs here where people can actually make it, right? And number six, it can manage its assets. It recognizes their values and has the ability to protect and enhance and maintain them, right? So let's take a look at some of the players inside of a community. Next slide. Health and wellness, right? So strengthening and to promote access to public health, healthy healthcare, and social services. Strong day-to-day systems can be better leveraged to support health resiliency during disasters and emergencies. In capable systems, people know how to access care, and are not limited to real or perceived barriers to service. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at one of the institutions that are within my network, right? And like I said earlier, this is going to be a knowledge share, right? So we're going to, after we look at one of this person that's in my network, then I'm going to ask you who was in your network. Okay. Next slide.
Question first, thank you, Brother David, for having me and us. Very good question. First, thank you, Brother David, for having me and us at Innovative Wellness Clinic. It's an honor to have this opportunity. When it comes to resiliency, health is everything. If we're not at our optimal wellness, where we can give 100% to really be in the movement to make a stance to be resilient, then we can't go at it 100%. So health, a good foundation in healthcare is of utmost importance. Yes, a few things. When I became a nurse practitioner, I was a little disappointed when I noticed how patients were being treated. My first job as a nurse practitioner was in integrative medicine. I loved it. I loved the clinic, but a lot of my patients didn't look like me. And one of our businesses didn't do well during the pandemic. We shifted our focus into Innovative Wellness Clinic. And that's why we're here. We're here to disrupt healthcare systems so that people, regardless of insurance status, can have access to a quality healthcare provider that's going to spend the time with them, that's going to teach them about their bodies. It's not going to rush them out of the doors. And if we can't answer the questions, we're certainly willing to network and provide referrals to providers that we trust that are going to respect each individual.
Okay, that was NP Danielle Gordon. She's a dynamic nurse practitioner who decided, to start, a wellness clinic inside of our community because she was seeing that people were not getting the proper attention that they needed, right? So I got a question. So who do you know, or do you know any healthcare providers that are willing to put people over profit, right? The whole point of this exercise, family, is to get connected. So if I visit your area and I know where I can go to get quality healthcare that we all deserve, and when you visit San Diego, I can point you into the direction where you can get somebody that can take care of you and not charge you an arm and a leg, right? That's how we get connected. That's how we connect the dots, right? So I believe we're going to take this time and ask some questions for the participants in Padlet. I believe we're going to go to Padlet and ask some questions. Is that what we're doing? Okay, so we check the chat. If we go to the chat, my lovely wife has put a link there. We're going to ask everybody to go hit the link, right? And answer those questions. Just look at the let's look at the 9 pathways.
Is everybody able to open up the link?
That's a good question.
Because I wasn't able to. Well,
Was I able to open it?
I think it's opening now. I think my
Okay.
laptop is a little slow.
Okay. So we have in here, right, some of the things that really make up, a resilient community, right? So, just if you know anyone any resources in your community, persons that you know that you can reach out to, or people that's providing services, just drop the information inside the prospective area.
So you want us to put what locality we're in, and then the.
Yes, you can put your state or your city, right?
And that's for the last link, is that correct?
Yes, the last link, yes.
Okay. Oh, so we don't even have to join in order to add a resource.
No, you just have to go to the link, pull it up, and then once we finish this, will you do?
Once you finish it, just hit update.
Where's update?
Okay, and we're gonna come out of it. And we're gonna come out of it.
I don't see update. I see share. But I don't see the word update. There's a little
Don't
plus.
see the word update?
I don't see update. No.
You should just be able to hit enter, and it in your comment will
Oh,
populate.
oh, okay.
Okay. So we are going to move on from Padlet. Thank you, everybody, for participating. We want to go to the next slide. So our next slide, we are talking about, and this is a very heavy part of resiliency within communities, and that is engaging at-risk individuals, right? So engaging at-risk individuals and programs that serve them, right? So engage individuals with potential vulnerabilities to take an active part in protecting their health and aiding their communities. Resilience strengthens the community as a whole. Assist programs that serve at-risk individuals to develop robust disaster and continuity of operations and plans, right? So this is a part of getting to know. This is a part of getting to know those institutions that are in our communities that's doing the work. Those people that we say that boots on the ground, they are very important to our community resiliency. So we want to take a look at one of our partners here in San Diego.
Doing that. And so as a recruiter for the fire department, I would go into the community and ask young brothers, Black and brown brothers, if they wanted to be on the fire department. And what I would hear a lot is, can I still get on the fire department if I got a record? And the book answer is, yeah, we take everyone on a case-by-case basis. But the truth is, it's probably going to be very difficult for you to be able to get on the fire department. So what can we do? What can we do so that our young brothers and sisters that have been punished by a system that's actually antithetical to their livelihood, how do we help them to be able to become productive members of society? And the building trades are careers that folks that have a record can still have entrance and do really well for themselves. And so I connected with the San Diego Building and Construction Trades Council, and we formed a relationship where when a person comes home, they want to work, but before you work, sometimes you got to do some homework. So So we focus on 4 things in homework. The first is life skills. We do everything from money management to anger management. The second thing is making sure that the family unit is strong. So there's a lot of relationships that were burnt because of past behaviors and things like that, being away at prison. There's a lot of things that happen in the family. We want to make sure that the family unit is strengthened. And then we want to rebuild the community. Whatever you tore down in the community, we want to rebuild that. And the fourth thing is civic engagement. So we believe that policymakers, as we're talking about sustainability, there's people that are creating policies that don't have formerly incarcerated folks at the table. And so again, we're going to create policies that are irrelevant and don't actually meet the actual needs. So say, let's get you to the table so you can tell these policymakers what you actually want. So we can have things that are relative and that are usable and sustainable.
Okay, so we see letter for Brother Jason. So, okay, so Brother Jason runs a program called Homework, and that program it takes those individuals who's coming home from prison, and it puts them in a program to prepare them for the workforce within the building trades. I know just recently President Biden proposed the what is called the American Job Plan, right? So the American Job Plan strongly which the American Job Plan is $2 trillion, right? As being committed to invest in rebuilding, decarbonizing, and modernizing America's infrastructures, right? So with this American Job Plan, right, it is this going to be far-reaching. It's going to be far-reaching, and you know, we need to get some of that. We need to help those individuals. Like again, we talked about early on, knowing our carpenters, knowing our bricklayers. No, that infrastructure funding, right, needs to trickle down to the communities where it needs to go, right? Because we've seen so many times where funding is supposed to go to underserved communities or Black communities as it relates to government funding, and it goes right past us. It goes right past our communities, or it goes underneath our communities in the form of infrastructure, right? But we are not the ones doing the work a lot of the times. So yes, this program is an excellent program. It helps with community resiliency. It helps those who are just coming home to get that homework done before they can get transitioned into the trades. Okay, we got something going on in chat. I mean, what we got going on in chat right there? Okay, all right. We're gonna go to the next, our next slide. So when we talk about connectedness, right? We talk about connecting the dots, right? So in community resiliency, right? We got to span communication and collaboration, right? We need to know who is doing what in our communities. We need to know how do we access them, right? If someone was to give you a list and say, okay, give me list 10 of the boots on the ground organizations in your community, would we be able to do that, right? So as we look at connectedness, we're going to go over to the next slide. And this person here, the next slide, who we got it for? Okay, so Student Minister Abdul Waliullah Muhammad here in San Diego. Now I witnessed this brother operate from the streets to the suites. I mean, brother gets calls from the mayor's office, the police department, and the homies in the hood, right? So let's see yes. So let's see what Student Minister has to say.
I think when you talk about communication resiliency and communication collaboration, I think it's very critical. Of course, resiliency, the ability to be able to bounce back after difficulty, or even some type of turbulence, So anytime you have a community that's trying to be resilient and bounce back from the different effects, communication is critical for collaboration. Communication is critical in everything we do. But when you talk about working in community collaboration, communication becomes more critical, because every organization that collaboration come with their purpose, they come with their vision, and they come with their platform. And so without communication to mesh those different vision or purposes becomes very difficult. And so communication and talking through and having something that's more important in our overall goal, because each one of us in the collaboration comes to make the community better. And so from our lens, we may see what that looks like in education and economic development, criminal justice, green. And so be able to bring that together, we have to communicate that, listen, my goal is just as important, my purpose is just as important, and we see each other's purpose and vision as important. When we do that, then we communicate the purpose, which is a little bit bigger than us, because community is bigger than our own segment. The biggest challenge to resiliency or collaboration and really make it is the level of patience. Because when you come in with your own, as I say, everyone come in, we have a mission statement, we have a vision statement, we have a purpose for which we form the institution that, or the organization that we're leading. And so as we are developing that, it's easy for us not to see the next person I mentioned earlier as it's important in ours. So sometimes without that level of patience, then we become impatient with each other, and it's easy not to stick together to accomplish the goal.
Yes, so that's a very key, very key point. Patience, and that's what we got to have with each other. We got to have patience with each other. So we got to be able to, look at our counterparts in our communities, right? And we have to be able to really appreciate people and what they bring to the table. Everybody is going to bring something to the table, right? Even if a person is maybe down on their luck at a certain point, right? We really sit down, listen to them, be empathetic, and hear what they got to say, right? I'm guarantee you we can learn something from it. So next we're going to go, okay, we'll have yes, okay. So next we're going to go to our next slide. I think that's the, okay. Housing, yes, housing. Very, very important, right? So we talk about housing, promoting housing stability alongside disaster preparedness, right? The ability to choose from a variety of housing types may be flexible in these choices, right? For community resilience, man, this is very important, right? The ability to respond to systems threats with resilience. Stable housing is the foundational stone of community resiliency, right? So let's go to our next member in our community, Brother Rick.
A place to live is really the basis of community resiliency, right? It's actually the foundation of a healthy community, okay? If there's like any disruption in your life, and your home is unstable, what that does, now you have to worry about, the roof over your head, right? If you have to worry about these things, how likely will you be able to overcome some of these adversities of life? We get the people in the community with like-minded to pool their resources, right? And build institutions and build programs that's conducive to community resiliency, right? Because of course, like I said, the housing market is very, very difficult right now. So it would not be as difficult if we would share the load, right? if everybody do a little, no one has to actually do a whole lot, right? Building certain programs, housing situations, multi-generational living, you know, co-housing situations, right? This creates, helps create a solid home life, right? And it's strengthening the foundation of a resilient community, right? And rich independent living is that piece of puzzle, right? That is that piece of resiliency puzzle that we could adapt, right? That would help us create quality living, you know, for people who are in transition.
Rick has been doing this work for years. I mean, he has taken many people that are, like you said, in transition, right? You know, it costs you to live. You know, and Brother Rick has found a way to help I could say hundreds of people, help people open up assisted living houses, not assisted living, independent living houses where people, you know, they on their own. They don't have to do nothing. So Brother Rick he was awarded independent living of the year award 2019. Let's go to the next one. Our next slide. As we get closer down to closing down, we got a couple more minutes. We're dealing with food sovereignty, and that's another key part of community resiliency, right? A resilient food system is able to withstand and recover from disruption, right? So we're going to go to the next person who was in my network, who's here in San Diego, who's doing the work on the front line. Let's hear what our sister Diane Moss has to say.
Yeah, so we're really trying to take advantage of an opportunity. You know, the space where we gather was public property. That is, the city owned it. They put a big sign out there and said for sale. So we competed against some other people, and we're small, we're from the community, but we didn't like it. So we were encouraged, and we had the wherewithal to bid against others, bid for the place. We own this land. It's not free and clear. We got a debt. What we want to do with this land is take it, because this is probably one of the last stages of public property in our area where we could buy and we could do something.
Hello, meeting. We're on the Black Sustainability Summit as we
So
speak.
how do we make the food system in our neighborhoods better? We want to do.
What meeting tonight?
We don't have a PAFM meeting tonight. No, I've had my signals crossed up. It's the Black Sustainability. Okay, I'm gonna try and.
Okay, so Sister Maria, you had to start over. I mean, just unmute yourself and come back in.
We could buy and we could do something that we want to do with this land. It's not free and clear. We got a debt. What we want to do with this land is take it, because this is probably one of the last stages of public property in our area where we could buy and we could do something that would have permanent benefit for us. We're going to have to eat every day of our lives. So how do we make the food system in our neighborhoods better? And we want to do that around this hub. A hub for us is what we're calling it. We have eateries on all sides of us. Where do they buy their food from? If I grow food that they buy, am I recycling dollars? Am I having some kind of economic development impact on this community? We want food to be a platform for which we can have some economic activity. Other people, we buy their food. 70% in this community of what we go somewhere else to eat and have entertainment. We want to make a reason that we stay here. Other people can come if they want to. I'm concerned about the people that live right here and that we have what we need and we benefit on a variety of. We're making a conscious choice to make an investment in our community. To get this hub off the ground, it's millions of dollars involved. But we believe in our folks, and that when we see that this is a treasure, or we can make a treasure, we can invest, and we can encourage others to invest so that we own a permanent asset that's not going away. We're going to get the public, right, our elected officials, to see it the same way. You're making investments in other communities. We want them to have self-determining behavior of what investments we want here. And food is clearly one of them. The jobs associated with food is clearly one of them. And the money to be made from food is something that we want to be a part of.
Okay. Before we get into let's revisit Padlet real quick, community members, everybody. Let's go back to the Padlet that Sister Maria put inside the chat for us. When I want us to really go inside there and list those people that you know that's in your community, that's in your network, right? That are doing the things that need to be done, the boots on the ground in your community. This is how we connect the dots. This is how we become a resilient community, right? Not just where I live at, not just where you live at, but all of us together. Because once we connect from this conference, right? Then if I come to your area, hey, I know you know if something happened, I know who to contact. So let's go back to the Padlet. Since Maria put it back in the chat, and let us just hit that one more time.
Take me from where I am into your promised land. Guide me by your great hand. Wherever you go, I'll follow. Break off my yesterday. Ready to brighter days. Running with no restraint. Wherever you go, I'll follow. Gone are the chains that were holding me. Gone is the person I used to be. Free from the fear by your perfect love. This is my exodus. This is my exodus. No one can take away the future you have for me. Yeah, there's still so much more to see. Wherever you go, I'll follow. Yeah, yeah. Gone are the chains that were holding me. Gone is the person I used to be. Free from the fear by your perfect love. This is my exodus. This is my exodus. Oh, gone are the chains that were holding me. Gone is the person I used to be. Free from the fear by your perfect love. This is my exodus. This is my exodus.
We got 30 seconds, everyone. We got 30 seconds. Okay, let's go back to our presentation and we'll have Sister Maria take us. Okay, so we had disaster preparedness. So what we're going to do, since we don't have a lot of time, we're going to get some time in for Q&A. So what I want to do is go straight to my recommendations for disaster preparedness for us, family. And that. So yeah, so what we're gonna do is we take a look at this disaster preparedness and resiliency, right? Number one, live a healthy lifestyle and learn the skills to manage stress. That's number one. Number two, connect, right? First of all, living a healthy lifestyle. We gotta drink more water, eat more vegetables, and we gotta exercise. You know, during Hurricane Katrina, a lot of people weren't able to evacuate when instructions were given to evacuate because they just didn't have the wherewithal to walk, because a lot of people didn't have vehicles, right? So people couldn't walk. So the question you got to ask yourself, am I able to carry 30 pounds, 50 pounds on my back for 5 miles, right? In case I have to evacuate from where I'm at, in case all of the streets be crowded up. So this, you got to start exercising, treating your body right now, so you'll be able to withstand those things if a natural disaster or a man-made disaster happening, you have to get away or get out of where you at, right? Connect, right? We got to connect to the people. Have we done this? You know, do we know the people that's next door to us? Do we know the people that's around the block from us, right? What I recommend we do is get out and walk 6 blocks in each direction of your house, north, south, east, and west, just to walk, and then observe what's around you. Observe is there train tracks around you? Are there any schools in your area? Are there any factories in your area? Are you living in a residential only area, or does it mix with commercial? And find out what's going on, right? And know your neighbors. Know your neighbors. This new time, we're not knowing our neighbors, living with people 10, 15 years and don't even know the person that's upstairs from us. We live in an apartment or across the hall, right? So we got to connect. Engage in neighborhood or preparedness activities. Each city now has what is called, and that's at the bottom, CERT, right? Community Emergency Response Team, right? After Katrina, I joined CERT in Baltimore, and I built one of the biggest teams in Baltimore. I became a CERT trainer because it's important for us to know how to help ourselves in the event of an emergency, right? Create an evacuation plan for your family, right? The children should know if we get separated and we had to, there should be someone that we can call locally and someone we can call us out of town. And we can let them know we're safe. Your children need to know who that person is. You should have those numbers and things like that. Have a disaster kit, right? Available, right? And I would suggest you got to understand, if you live in an area that is prone to flooding, you don't put your disaster kit in the basement. Don't put it high up, right? Okay. If you live in a place, me personally, our disaster kits are inside of suitcases. So we're going to roll our stuff up out of here. If we got to walk, we're going to roll it up out of here and get where we got to go at, right? So take advantage of, also download at least 5 apps on your phone that deal with health and preparedness. I know some of us, we got all these other apps on there, all these game apps, and we playing games and we doing all this other stuff, but download at least 5 apps. See, go to the American Heart Association, First Aid CPR, right? There's another app called Black MD Cares, right? Where you can pick up your Black doctors and things like that, right? And I wish we were able to put these in chat for everybody. Another app is called WeatherBug. It's going to give you the weather. It's going to give you the weather all around the country, all around the country. It's going to tell you what's happening. You know, if there's floods, hurricanes, fires, whatever. Another app is called Medicinal Plants for Health, right? We got to know, in case we can't get to the pharmacy, what can we utilize that can take the place of the medication if we run out in case of emergency. So yes, we'll be sending this information. Sister Maria will be sending this information over, so everyone will have the information in the chat for the apps.
Yes, Brother David,
Yes.
thank you so much. It's been a learning experience, and I don't think we have too much time for questions, but maybe one or two. One comment I want to make. I lived in East Palo Alto, California, and what we used to do, we would take the whole block and we have meetings with the block, and we'll set up emergency container at one of the houses on the block. and we put in all the necessary things. We have to cut off the electricity or gas, all those things that are needed. And it was a way to get to know our neighbors as well. And we would meet like once every couple of months to make sure that everything was in place in our little container at one of the neighbors' homes. Anyone else want to open up and ask a question before we close down? Because we have from 6 to 7, all the pre-recorded presentation that was given on the 14th and 15th. This is a time for them to come in live to answer any questions people may have. So we got about 4 minutes. Wanda, why don't you open up and ask your question?
My question has to do with the pandemic and how this might have impacted this resilient community structure, particularly around neighbors and interacting with people you don't know. And yeah, how do we do that?
Well, our whole thing with I'm Green is preparation before things happen, right? So since now we in the pandemic, right? In some places I know here in California, we don't have a mass mandate all the time. So what you got to do is, we still can meet with our community members, but we should practice social distancing. Everyone should wear their mask. We should at least, do temperature checks and things like that. And we still can get to know our neighbors, right? We don't want to be so fearful where, every now I'm just locking myself in the house, and that's the wrong thing to do at this point right here. You want to know, because if another wave comes and it came like the first wave and we had to lock in, right? You want to be able to have some, get to know some people around you just in case.
And also it's good to get everyone's phone number if they'll allow you to get it, or email, because sometimes the power goes out and you wonder if it's just you or is everybody else, because sometimes you don't know, well, I didn't pay my bill, but you check with your neighbors and see that they all got their electricity out as well. So it's always good to have these community meetings or neighborhood meetings, so you'll know who's around you, no matter what ethnicity they are. We all in the same boat when it comes to a catastrophe.
Got that right, because I live in San Diego, but I call it northern Mexico, because all my neighbors are of Hispanic persuasion. So I got to know Mr. Rodriguez across the street. I need to know him. I need to know. I see him fixing cars. I need to know who he is and what he does. So yes, absolutely.
Oh, did you know the 100-year-old man who just transitioned last year? His name was Mr. Ellis. But anyway, that was my uncle. He lived to be 100 years old in San Diego.
Yeah, yes, I heard of Mr. Ellis. Yes, ma'am. Yes.
That was my only living uncle that made that transition.
Wow. Oh, wow. Okay.
12 of them, and he was the last one to go.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, I guess I've announced what's going to happen next, and I have a few more slides I have to go through right quick, and that's to thank again. Here we go. Let's see. We've already went through the questions, and again, we want to thank our sponsors. We have, I want you also to look at joining our Black Sustainable Network. For those attendees who are on, if you have not joined, please take an opportunity to join us. We also have not a new network, but a new app for our network that is coming up. And so please check us out. I'm getting calls for this next session that we're going to have. Also, I think that's pretty much it. Again, please join our network and drop a link in the chat. I think everybody has put their names and everything in there. And let me cut this off because they're trying to get me on. Okay, so thanks again for the attendees. Thanks for our sponsors, and David and Marie Mohammed.
Thank you, everyone.
Done an excellent job. So hopefully we'll see you. Maybe you can come to our pre-recorded Q&A that's getting ready to take place right now. All right, thanks everybody. And we're gonna close out and we're gonna open up another session. Okay. Peace and love and be safe, everyone.